hearings on big tech censorship. Joining me right now is South Carolina Congresswoman and member of the House Oversight Committee, Nancy Mace. Congresswoman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning.
Do you want to see hearings? Tell me how you are looking at what we're learning about Twitter and how you would be poised to react.
Well, first, I want to thank Ro Khanna for showing America that it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you sit on, but censorship is unacceptable and bad for our country on either side. And I respect him and I appreciate him coming forward as the only Democrat during that time who reached out to Twitter and said that this was absolutely wrong. We should be using the power of subpoena, Maria, both on Judiciary and on the Oversight Committee, of which and where I sit, to get to the bottom of this. Because days before an election in 2020, there are federal agencies, we believe, that were burying or pushing social media companies to bury content, and that's wrong.
And we have evidence of it right now. But even more so than the impact on conservatives or Republicans who had their information censored, it's manipulation. I mean, amplifying lies and suppressing truth has an impact on all of us, not just the people who were edited and censored.
Right, and it's even potentially had an impact on our health, not just in the U.S., but around the world, right? You've got Dr. Fauci and NIH and CDC potentially giving out information and misinformation on social media and social media companies amplifying it. I've got even further questions. It's not just about the laptop, but I believe once we start investigating that, we're going to uncover a trove of information to show how far federal agencies, including the FBI, have gone to bury these kinds of stories, like the origins of COVID, like how corrupt the Biden family has been with regards to business dealings around the world, especially with people in countries like communist China. I hope that with the leadership of Jim Jordan and Jamie Comer out of Kentucky on oversight, that we're going to get to the bottom of this. But when we do, what happens next? Because my biggest issue being a member of Congress is we do all these investigations and then absolutely nothing happens. We've got to hold people's feet to the fire and hold them accountable.
That's exactly right. I mean, during the whole Russia collusion lie, there were to be subpoenas of key people like a James Baker, who was, interviewed under oath by John Ratcliffe, but nothing came of it. There was no accountability. So now Republican leader Kevin McCarthy says he wants to subpoena the so-called spies who lied, those 51 ex-intelligence officials who branded Hunter Biden's laptop Russian disinformation. Where did they get that? Okay, why did they sign this letter right before the election? Chairman-elect of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, writing a Wall Street Journal op-ed, calling it "Get Ready for Republican Oversight." Comer says that the Oversight Committee will be investigating the border crisis, the energy crisis, and the influence peddling, the Biden family business schemes, Congresswoman. So where is this going? What can come out of this?
Well, hopefully, number one, we're going to get the truth out of it. And then number two, figure out if the law was broken, then those individuals should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle that you sit on, but there are bureaucrats who try to manipulate the political system for political gain for their candidates, and that's not their job. And if you are suppressing free speech as a government agency, then those individuals need to be kicked out of those jobs. I mean, we have got to hold people accountable. We have a constitution. We should follow it. The creators, what they created and founded our country on was brilliant, but the checks and balances need to be real. It needs to be more than just a headline, more than just a letter. And look, I sent a letter out on Friday requesting that Facebook and Twitter, that they start retaining records, because we're going to want to look at those records to see how free speech was suppressed by federal agencies. I've got one of those out there too, but we've got to do more than just have a hearing and have a headline. I want to see people held accountable, and I believe the rest of America does as well on either side. We've got to trust our institutions.
I mean, one of the issues is so many government employees went and got big jobs at these social media companies after the Obama administration. They stepped down and they got big jobs at Twitter, at Facebook, at Google, and then they started controlling the narrative from that end. James Comer also said that the Oversight Committee will look at the origins of COVID. You mentioned health for Americans, people across the world. Twitter CEO Elon Musk doing a little Twitter trolling yesterday, saying this: "My pronouns are prosecute Fauci." Musk would later write that Fauci lied to Congress and funded the gain-of-function research. So how is it possible that we have Anthony Fauci funding the research of these bat coronaviruses, and then there's a mistake. It leaks from a lab, kills and sickens millions of people across the world, and Fauci takes no responsibility whatsoever.
Well, I think you just discovered the reason probably why there's not been an investigation, a real investigation into the true origins of COVID. If we were to find out that we were funding this kind of research and then it led to this pandemic around the world, the administration would have huge PR problems. But this is something that we're going to have to investigate. If that's what happened, we have to reconcile and take responsibility for it and ensure that it never happens again. Millions of people have died around the world. Millions of more have been affected by long COVID and other issues related to the illness. And so we owe it upon ourselves and upon our residents of our country, the United States of America, to decide to figure out what happened and how do we prevent it from happening again in the future and ensure that our tax dollars aren't going to this kind of research that could possibly, via accident, leak out and cause another pandemic.
And, you know, you would think that the media all agrees on this, but it's just extraordinary, the lengths that the media and social media in particular have taken to hide the truth. Congresswoman, we're going to keep a spotlight on it, and we appreciate you joining me this morning. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, thank you so much. We will